Hamas and Israel are at war, and the Israeli Air Force is striking targets in the Gaza Strip every day for several days now. My name is Max Villman. I'm a former fighter pilot in the Swedish Air Force, so let's talk a little bit about the Israeli Air Force and its job in the Gaza Strip. And just to frame this discussion, I will not talk anything about taking any sides in this conflict in this video or anything of that. Today we are discussing the tactics that the Israeli Air Force is using to strike the targets in the Gaza Strip. So this is a military perspective. Let's take a quick look over at Twitter or X. I have several tweets about this conflict, of course. I made a short tweet about a thread about this exact topic. First of all, let's take a look at the battle space. Here you have the battle space. You have the Gaza Strip here. The borders are the dotted lines here. You have Israel, you have the West Bank, Egypt down in the south, Jordania to the east. And if we take a ruler here and we measure the Gaza Strip, we see that it is approximately 41 kilometers long and a couple of kilometers wide. A little bit wider here in the south and north, and then quite narrow here, approximately 6 kilometers. So it's not a very, very big area. And Israel has, if you take a look at this picture over here, Israel has several air bases in the area, and basically as soon as they go gear up, they are over the target area. So it's a very, very small area, nothing to worry about, no real long flights towards the area or anything like that. The only thing that Israel needs to be mindful of is, of course, Egypt. They don't want any bombs accidentally dropping into Egypt. They don't want to fly too close to the Egyptian border, of course, as to not anger Egypt in that sense. It's a very, very delicate situation, of course, politically. But since Israel has access from all the other directions, basically it's not a big issue. It's a very small area, and Israel has total air superiority. If you talk a little bit about Hamas, what kind of air defense do they have to combat this? And basically not much at all. Obviously they have small arms. There have been pictures of Hamas fighters using older Igla systems, so manpads, or pretty close to the American Stinger, but Soviet ones. I have not seen any reports of these systems being used or fired. The Israeli Air Force can also, while using fighter jets, operate at higher altitudes and stay a couple of kilometers away from the Gaza Strip using bombs, missiles, etc. We will look at that in just in a little bit. So this should not be any problem at all for the Israeli Air Force to operate outside of the boundaries, the threat that Hamas could pose to Israel. And of course, because of the using several drones and other surveillance systems, if someone from Hamas would carry one of these Igla systems on his shoulder out in the open to get into a firing position, obviously that would probably be detected by the drones and the surveillance, and then they could target it with artillery or a missile strike or attack helicopters or just a bomb. So obviously it's a very high risk for any Hamas fighters that would try this. And just if we look at the map again, obviously we're in a desert, very, very dry area, so there's basically no clouds or weather phenomena to take into account at all, except maybe one that we will talk about in a bit. Could be an occasional sandstorm, of course, but I don't think that's something that is happening right now. So a very, very permissible weather. Israel could stay outside and above any threat that Hamas could pose to them. And basically, as soon as they take off from their bases, they are over the target area. So very, very permissible environment for the Israeli Air Force to strike its targets. So what are they using to hit the targets? Basically, they are mainly using derivatives of the Mark 84 general purpose bomb. So this is the Mark 84 is a so-called dumb bomb. It's a free-falling bomb. So using onboard targeting systems, you calculate where the bomb will hit, but since it's just straight falling towards the ground, it's difficult to get high accuracy. So to get the accuracy, you have something called the JDAM and the payaway. These two bombs are the main ones that are being used right now. So they take different kinds of Mark 84 bombs, different sizes, all the way from 500 to 2,000 pounds. If you're talking about freedom units, up to 910 kilos if you're talking European units. And what these kinds of kits or upgrades do is that JDAM kit is making sure that the dumb bomb is smart in the sense that it has a GPS system and an INS system, inertial guidance system. So even if the GPS is jammed, it can still hit its targets, obviously with a slightly lower accuracy than if it had GPS. I have not seen any records about Hamas using GPS jamming. It's not a very technically complicated thing to do, and Iran should definitely have it. So I would imagine that if Hamas had it, they would use it, but I haven't seen any reports about it. Obviously, the Israeli Air Force is not going to talk much about that anyway, but it should be detectable by civilian systems as well. But even if the GPS is jammed, the INS makes sure that the weapon can hit its target. And Israel has good coordinates in this area, so it shouldn't be any big issues for them. So this kit makes sure that it can strike a target where you have a good coordinate. It makes sure that the dumb bomb is indeed smart instead. The other way to use it is to modify a Mark 84 is to make it a payaway. What a payaway is, basically you take the Mark 84 dumb bomb, you fit fins, rudders, and you fit this thing here in the front, which is a laser seeker. So you need to illuminate the target with a laser from a targeting pod on your own airplane, or from an attack helicopter, or from a drone, or from that matter from someone on the ground. So you have a laser code that you illuminate the weapon with, the target with, and the weapon has a same laser code that it follows. So you illuminate what you want to hit, and then the free-falling bomb glides to hit that laser spot. And neither the payaway or the JDAM they have any propulsion, so they are basically free falling and using the energy that they get from the fighter aircraft, or the one that is dropping it. So if you go high speed and high altitude, you give the bomb a lot of energy, which in turn makes sure that the bomb can hit the target. And since, as we talked about the map here, there's no distances to talk about at all. Basically, there's no problem for the Israeli Air Force to use these weapons with great effect and hit their targets quite easily. Another thing is that you can modify these weapons even further by adding so-called hardening to them. This in turn makes sure that the weapon then can penetrate further into the target before it explodes, and then we get the effect that we have seen now, where the bomb will penetrate into the basement or into the ground floor of the building and detonate there, in turn making the entire building collapse. We have seen several clips about that from the Israeli Air Force, of course. So these weapons can be used with great effect in these kinds of areas. And if we go back to Twitter, so we see a very permissible environment. Israel has the weapons to strike the targets without a problem. So why haven't these targets not been hit before? And the short answer is because of ROEs, or rules of engagement. So Israel has many intelligence bureaus, agencies, not just Mossad, which is the most famous one, but their army, air force, navy, they have their own ones, and there's several civilian ones as well. So all these intelligence agencies are building a big target list in this area, in the Gaza Strip. But because Israel doesn't want to escalate the conflict, they have not been hit yet. But now, basically what has happened after the massacre this weekend is that all gloves have come off. The political leadership has given the Israeli Air Force the go-ahead to strike any targets with military connection in the Gaza Strip. And that is exactly what we're seeing now. So they are taking this big target list that they have, and they are adding targets as they see them because they have surveillance over the area, etc. And they are striking all these targets. So I think what we will see now is that all these buildings where Hamas operates will be hit, and then the ground offensive will get underway, which of course will generate even more targets because Hamas will fight back, and then the Israeli Air Force will bomb those positions as well. So what we see right now is this target list being hit, and this will obviously create a lot of civilian casualties as well, because Hamas has a tactical strategy to locate their offices, their research facilities, their training facilities in the middle of the Gaza Strip in an urban area, and sometimes even in the same building as civilian offices, civilian shops, civilian apartments. So we will obviously see civilian casualties. What Israel has done is that they have warned that if you are in or near a Hamas building, you should move away because we will bomb that building. But of course, it's a very built up area, and there can always be collateral damage. So even if you hit exactly what you want, you will have civilian casualties, and we have seen that, of course. But all gloves are off now, and all the targets that Israel deem are military targets will be hit by the Israeli Air Force, and there's basically no problem for them to do exactly that. And as we talked about, when the ground offensive gets on the way, we'll get more targets. We have constant surveillance of this area now with drones, attack helicopters, and fighter aircraft, of course. The only thing I talked about a little bit with the weather thing that could provide a possible, let's say, problem for the Israeli Air Force is if we take a look at their Twitter account, you see these massive airstrikes. Buildings collapsing. You see that there's a lot of dust being thrown out after each of these strikes, because it's a very dry area. So you have concrete dust, you have sand, all that, and that sort of dust basically can cover the entire city, an entire block, and be there for several minutes, if not longer, which in turn makes it difficult. You can't illuminate targets that are in this dust with laser. You can of course strike with wave waves, but you would probably want good eyes on the target before you strike it. So for BDA and for collateral damage assessment, so that could pose a problem that as soon as you do a strike, you need to wait a little bit more before you do another strike in that area, because basically you can't see anymore. It's almost as if you had clouds over the target area after you hit it with one of these bombs, because you see there's so much dust going about. So that's something that could happen. Basically, if you look there, you see that it's totally covered in dust after one of these strikes. So that's the only issue I see, except of course collateral damage and all those sort of things for the Israeli Air Force. But I will end it here. Thanks so much for watching. Please give me a like on this video for the YouTube algorithms, and subscribe to the channel. Ring the notification bell so you get notified when I release more videos. And I will not just release videos about this conflict, even though it's top of mind right now. I have much exciting videos to come. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram over there. You have my newsletter in the description. You also have my ebooks in the description. I have a free ebook that you can grab about optimizing your life. And also, if you want to support this channel financially, you can use a super chat, the 3 dots down below the video, or you can go to the description to my Ko-fi page and buy me a coffee there. But until next time, as always, fly safe.